Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. The Warriors are having a great season. It's a surprise, no, because Steve Kerr is a great coach and has always managed to extract good things from each player on the squad. But still, he needs an elite scorer behind Stephen Curry. Brandon Ingram is a highly regarded scorer and could provide the Warriors with great scoring. The player wants to leave the Pelicans. It would be an ideal time for the Warriors to make an offer and bring Ingram to San Francisco. Almost everything is going right for the Golden State Warriors so far this season, and yet that doesn't dismiss the suggestion that the team could be improved further by a blockbuster trade. The Warriors are 9-2 through 11 games in large thanks to their incredible depth, but there remains a possibility that they cash in on that depth and their young/future assets to bring in another all-star. Another trade proposal sees the Warriors acquire Brandon Ingram. Despite previous reports that they have little interest in Brandon Ingram, Golden State continue to be speculated as a potential destination for the 2X All-Star. In a recent article looking at one trade for every NBA team, Dan Favale of Bleacher Report has again suggested Ingram as a trade target for the Warriors. Given Golden State probably could have acquired Ingram during the offseason if they really wanted to, what would have changed between now and then to suggest they'd think different of the scoring forward? Well, as Favale alludes to, Ingram has become a far more willing three-point shooter through the first 12 games of this season. After averaging 3.6 and 3.8 three-point attempts in each of the past 2 seasons, the 27-year-old has nearly doubled that to 6.8 per game. While he may only be hitting an average 35.4% of those, the rise in attempts does make him a more valuable commodity, particularly to a team like Golden State who prioritize three-point shooting. Ingram is averaging 22.5 points on 47% shooting overall, and is also adding 5.9 rebounds and 5.1 assists for the injury-ravaged Pelicans. The other factor to this is that the further the season goes and the closer Ingram becomes to being a free agent next summer, the less New Orleans can foreseeably expect to see for their star in a trade. Favale's latest proposal is a 3-team trade involving the Toronto Raptors, with the Warriors giving up Andrew Wiggins, Gary Payton II, Gue Santos, a 2025 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks that they own from Atlanta. Would Golden State even trade Wiggins for Ingram in a straight swap right now though? The 2022 All-Star has had a strong start to the season, plays an incredibly important role on the defensive end, and is under contract on a far friendlier number for another 2 seasons after this one. Ingram's early season form may make him a better stylistic fit for the Warriors than previously thought, but it's still highly unlikely that they risk disrupting their current form and chemistry for a player who's still a questionable addition given the factors at play. How have injuries affected the Warriors? Golden State Warriors are the second-best team in the Western Conference, behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder, who they beat earlier this month. After losing Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks this offseason, the Warriors were expected to be a middling team in the West, but they have quickly become one of the very best teams in the NBA. A large part of their success can be attributed to Steve Kerr's 12-man rotation. When health allows him, he plays all 12 players on the roster for extended minutes. Currently, no one on the roster is playing more than 20 minutes a game. Stephen Curry missed 3 games with an ankle injury, and occasionally some players are sidelined with minor bruises and bumps, but as a whole, the Warriors have remained healthy. The NBA is already plagued with injury issues this season. Chet Holmgren, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Kristaps Porzingis, P.J. Washington, Aaron Gordon, Aaron Nesmith, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, Chris Middleton, Isaiah Hartenstein, Paolo Banchero, Paul George, Kevin Durant, and Devin Vassell, among plenty of other players, either have or are missing extended periods of time due to injury already this season. the Warriors don't abuse their players with heavy minutes and allow for plenty of rest, and even if they do suffer an injury down the road, their bench players have already proven that they can play a larger role as needed. Mavericks urged to look at trade reuniting Klay Thompson and former Warriors teammate. The Mavericks' perimeter defense does appear a major concern. The Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks are no strangers in the trade landscape, having each been involved in the 16 sign-and trade that sent Klay Thompson to the Western Conference champions during the offseason. Warrior fans will have one eye on how Thompson performs in a new environment, but perhaps he's not the only Golden State champion that the Mavericks would like on their roster. Warriors guard Gary Payton too has been listed as a trade candidate for the Mavericks. In a recent article outlining the top 3 trade candidates for every team, Grant Hughes of Bleacher Report has identified Gary Payton II as a potential target for a Dallas team in need of more perimeter defense. Who wouldn't love an injection of chaotic defense next to Doncic and Irving's offensive brilliance? Dallas doesn't have an ace disruptor in the backcourt, and Payton, when healthy, causes as much trouble as anyone at the position, Hughes wrote. Thompson's historically great three-point shooting could form one of the league's most potent offenses alongside devastating shot creators Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. However, the decline in the 34-year-old's defensive capabilities post-injuries does leave a concern on how a trio of Doncic and Irving will fare on that end of the floor. The Mavericks also lost their primary wing defender in Derrick Jones Jr. during the offseason, but are hoping some of that departure can be made up by bench acquisitions Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes. Payton could be an additional option for Dallas if their perimeter defense becomes a glaring issue once the season gets underway. Would Golden State be motivated to move a key role player to a direct conference rival though? A deal would have to benefit them and their playoff hopes, albeit Payton could be expendable given the depth on the Warrior roster. The 31-year-old is on an expiring $9.1 million deal. That number is slightly awkward looking at the Mavericks roster, unless the Warriors had interest in Maxi Kleber as a stretch big, or Marshall once he becomes trade eligible. Outside being an expiring contract, Payton wouldn't hold too much value around the league given his recent injury history that saw him limited to just 66 of a possible 164 regular season games over the last 2 years. The 2022 NBA champions saw just over 9 minutes in the Warriors' first preseason game against the LA Clippers, finishing with 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist in the 91-90 victory on Saturday.